finals time here. The Illuvium Gauntlet Leviathan No Limits Tournament, game number 1 of the grand finals, is now live. We have, of course, our players. We've got SneG.Atlas from Team Hype, SqUAk from Team Monarch, SneG from Team Atlas, FuryzHYPE, SotaHYPE, SequParico, PatateHYPE, and Foxspirit from Atlas. So these players have been playing all afternoon, or at least it's all afternoon for me. Some of these players have been playing all the way up to like 4 in the morning, so God bless them. But the action is coming to a climax very, very shortly here as we have our top 8. The format here for this grand finals, of course, it is going to be 3 games back to back to back. And based off of where you finish in each game will determine a certain amount of points that you end up earning. Whoever has the highest amount of points at the end of all 3 games will be your victor. And the winner of the massive ILV, I believe it's 94 ILV token, which is a pretty sweet little payday for yourselves for an afternoon or evening, morning, overnight gaming session. Right along with one of the players, as we see here in the red, SqUAk. They have had a fantastic semifinal, winning both rounds. And that last one with a fantastic bunker composition. And the one thing I want to point out off the back, how the heck did he manage to get a tier 4 already in round number 3? That's like a 2% chance to get that, I think. Getting the mammoth off the start is actually kind of ridiculous. And it comes through to take SneG.Atlas down to 96. Let's take a look here with Patate as well as SqUAk. Fighter and a bulwark here for SqUAk. Meanwhile, Rogue and a bulwark alongside a couple of other alluvials. You got the Doka there for a little bit of firepower, a little bit of fist fighting power, rather. We got the Fleesh, which has a little bit of burst damage, but definitely tough to really make work effectively here. Gonna try and fire the laser on into the Groko with a little bit of extra assistance. It will take it down. And it looks like SqUAk's not gonna be long for this world. Never mind, the backline there with the Ranger and the Fleesh were doing a little bit of work, but the Doka finds its way on in, and SqUAk is gonna take a little bit of heat once again here. Taking the loss in that one. Let's see, who have we not rode with yet? So, SqUAk again. Let's ride with Fury. We just saw Patate. Okay, SneG.Atlas. We saw early. SotaHYPE. We'll rock with this one here. Of course, still very, very early on here in this grand final. Sota alongside SneG.Atlas. Fighters on bulwarks. Rogues, fighters on bulwarks. Let's take a look at some of these alluvials, of course, as well. A level 50 Lynx, leveled that thing up very, very good in the early game. Of course, I'm talking about levels. I'm looking at that little purple hexagon with the number on it when I bring up that menu. But of course, with this being Leviathan compared to the standard Illuvium Arena Gauntlet that you'll have either seen me cast or probably played yourself on the casual or ranked ladder. The Gauntlet portion of it, for the main ranked mode, completely free to play and whatnot. There's no advantage to owning any NFTs. However, here in Leviathan, in this tournament, the first time that we are seeing it, you can play absolutely free to play, but you'll have all of the alluvials and you'll have them all at level 1. So you can still absolutely play, you can still win based off of team composition and positioning your alluvials correctly. But your levels and your alluvial stats, if you actually owned the alluvial from going out into the overworld and catching it, or finding it on the marketplace, can give you that competitive advantage. But again, for standard ranked, that is not the thing. But for today's action here in Leviathan, it is. I always try to make that clear because people oftentimes see NFT games and get scared. And sure, while there is the Leviathan side of things like we're seeing here today, where it's definitely valuable to have them, to actually be able to enjoy the game, you do not need it at all. Here for SneG, really relying hard on their fighters to get the damage done, and they are going to be successful. Looking at that Relentless Lynx, this is the second time today we've seen the Relentless Lynx come out, and have double attack speed stacking is kind of ridiculous. That Lynx there for SneG is going to be a menace. NPC around, so hey, it's holo check time. Let's take a look at the bench. We do have the Holodoka, the Holochuko, looking good here. Or Foxspirit. What about Zadkiel? What do you have? They all be sparkling, but no holos this time. And that is one thing that I've noticed so far here in this Leviathan tournament. Because in the Leviathan you want to be using the Illuvials to have your best stats, there is very, very few times I actually see a holo, let alone a dark holo. Which, for people from other titles, if a holo is a shiny, there's like another level of rarity there with dark holo. It's like a super shiny, super rare shiny, secret rare for your card game players out there. That kind of idea. Either way, awesome collector's items, and I'm sure as the game goes on, we'll start seeing those absolutely ridiculously high statted shinies or holos in shops soon enough. Or if you're lucky enough to catch one, you'll probably be doing a happy dance for a week. Players just getting off the carousel. A couple of extra items in hand, a few more extra Illuvials in hand here. Let's ride along. Have we seen everybody at least once so far? I feel like we might have, but let's take a look at Fury and SqUAk. SqUAk having a little bit of a rough time here early on in this battle. We've got Fighters, Rogues, and Bulwarks here for SqUAk. Meanwhile, same idea here, but a little bit of extra oomph here for the green side, as they do have the Berserkers. Help supplement that damage here for Fury. Leviathan in, let's get those damage numbers up here. So the Axon here for the side of SqUAk can try and tank things up as best as possible. Water Groko going to immediately fall though, so one front line already down. They do have the Relentless Lynx fully loaded with an ability. It's actually going to get a long-range chop on the Rhoda, or the Revo, as it tries to roll away. Now that they've had the opportunity to start swarming on the rest of Fury's team, they will capitalize. The Lynx coming in clutch, and the squad coming in clutch here for SqUAk. Gonna take Fury's down to 90. And I think for the first time today that we've at least seen on stream, it is going to be Patate leading the lobby, going up against SneG. Who of course has, I had pointed it out before, this ridiculous Relentless Lynx. Level 30, so about halfway leveled, still pretty decent though, and it now has the Rift Striker for additional crit and damage on top of those 2 attack speed buffs. So this Lynx has to be focused down or dealt with or mitigated or something, because the longer this thing goes, it is going to be ridiculous to see how much damage it ends up doing. Alongside the fact that they have 5 fighters, the attack speed is going to be ridiculous across the entire team, let alone that Lynx. As we see, it has full free reign on anything it wants on the team. The Valente and the Penguin trying to do their damnedest, but they're stuck on the tanks. The Lynx barely even got touched at all. Heck, it wasn't even the one Lynx that was doing the most damage. The baby Lynx was the one that did the most damage. Those fighters are looking strong here so far for SneG, and that's going to knock Patate off to the top spot for the time being, giving it on over to Foxspirit, who is up against Zico Perico, who again, in a ridiculous fashion, found the tier 4, found the Mabu immediately off of the first round. Or like by round 3, found it. Incredible. Stick the Vengeful Mantle on it as well for a little bit of extra reflective damage. AoE reflective damage on top of that. Chef's kiss. Toxic Water, Bulwark the Rogue alongside the Fighters and Empaths. Mamu point blank about to yeet this Lynx away in just a moment's time if it survives. No, it doesn't even get its ability off, so that's a heartbreaker here for ZqParico. It's going to now allow for the rest of the green squad, Foxspirit, the double Lynx alongside the bull in the middle, trying to hang on for dear life, but there's a lot of low health bars here. That polar bear alongside the Revo are doing a fantastic job. Alongside the Winx in the very, very bottom, that was just being able to do free reign and disrupt with those charms. And that is what we'd like to see there. So ZqParico, what looked like a rough start, able to pull that one around and get the W in that one. What's Sota up to? Sota versus SqUAk. Let's take a look and see what these two are up to. So another well-equipped, relentless Lynx here. This one leveled up to 50, so this one, much stronger Lynx overall compared to what we've seen earlier. And we see just even more Lynxes. Are Lynxes just that good in this game? I know everybody likes Lynxes, but my goodness, we see them all over the board here. I'm not gonna complain. Lynx is literally my favorite animal, but interesting to see that there's just enough damage to get done. And all three of the Lynxes here on the red side is just gonna immediately focus down that Axon. So that might have been one of the beefier tanks on the squad, but immediately gets taken down. 3-on-3 fist fight through the middle with the Ranger getting some pot shots over in the top corner, and that's going to be enough. The Lynx is gonna end up charging as that one big Lynx ended up getting the untargetable proc. And that will end up being it there. So Sota is going to lose a little bit. Granted, it wasn't the biggest hit, still sitting at 82. And of course, NPC around, hollow check. And we might have found one right down here. This Volente. Level 25. Not too shabby for a tier 0. Johnny, check some others. No, not quite. Looking. There you go. That's a nice one as well. The Vermilia, and then the Dark Hollow right there, the Dark Hollow Rota. Very, very nice pickup here for SqUAk. To go through our current standings, ZqParico again is leading this lobby. Alongside Foxspirit, SneG.Atlas, Zadkiel, SotaHYPE, FuryzHYPE, SqUAAk.Monarch, and PatateHYPE. Nobody really sweating too heavily as of yet, getting too nervous, but we'll be at that time shortly, I'm sure, as we ride along here with ZqParico and Sota. Rogues for Sota, including the Ramfy, which is going to be critical to see if they can find a hole to sneak in, get a good ability off. Meanwhile, the fighters coming out from ZqParico and this completely loaded up Revo. Looking to do a ton of damage. Let's get those DPS numbers up and see what we're looking at. That's a Tofi in the top left, just got immediately shredded. The Mamu is going to eat this Ramfy ability though, and that just chunked it big time. It might be a tank, but it does not matter. Sota, move your dang drone. It's going to be another Ramfy ability coming on through. Takes out 2. This one's looking really, really good here for the red side, unless that Revo can make these untargetable procs work for them, and they will end up being able to do so. There was too many low health bars catching me off guard. They had the numbers, but they did not have the health to sustain it. ZqParico taking the W. I feel like I just saw them. Zadkiel, what you up to? Zadkiel, Sota, we just saw Sota. Patate and Fury, let's go. Let's roll with this one here. On the asteroid, let's see what we've got. Fighters, Berserkers, kind of setting up for a little mix of sustain. Got the Magma and Verdant almost there as well. Possible long-term thing. We do also see the Pyre on the bench, so we do kind of see what FuryzHYPE's kind of looking for. Meanwhile, once again, we're going to ride along with another well-decked out Revo here on the green side. Here for Patate. Get those damage numbers up. Good position here for the Archos to get a bunch of AoE healing, but there is a lot of damage coming on through here from the side of Patate. The blind on top of things is just going to make things extremely difficult. The foe was there. It might be a tier 5. It might be doing a ton of damage, but it does not matter if you're blind and swarmed by like 5 rogues, and they are going to fall. It's FuryzHYPE just above the 50 HP mark. Tier 4 is now on the board for the carousel. FuryzHYPE going to be the first one to be able to get on out there and get what they want. Racing on over, going to pick up the Fern, and SqUAk going to tank the Polar Bear. Of course, the Polar Bear that we do see there, the Mule, or the Joel, I can't pronounce it properly. Laugh at me later, by all means. But it may be a fighter, but it is also a very tanky brawler, so kind of like a makeshift tank, especially if you build that thing to sustain itself with some Omnivamp, so when it's doing some damage, it heals itself back. That, or pair it up with some empaths that can help support it. Could be an absolute unkillable beast, and I was going to say mandatory shiny shoutout or hollow shoutout there for that ace that was on the board, but it has disappeared. Unlucky. Zico, we were just with you. Soda, let's bring it back. Who are you with? You're with Patate, SneG. What are you up to? SneG Foxspirit. Let's roll this one, sure. Of course, I'll have always the highest health player on the left and the underdog of sorts on the right. Templar Bulwark here with a little bit of extra reliance onto that Fernite in the top left. Meanwhile, the red squad, they have that decked out Lynx, and right now it's got that extra bonus HP damage as well. It is going to fall. What about the other Lynx? It's going to end up falling. The Templars are too much here, and that's going to be SneG taking some damage as Foxspirit coming in clutch once again. Zico finally losing a round as well. That's going to allow for Foxspirit to take the lead in this lobby, at least for now. Going up against SadQ. Let's see. SqUAk, it's been a little bit. What are you up to? SqUAk versus Fury. So 2 players currently a little bit down on our luck. Not necessarily at death's door, but we're getting kind of close. But like 3 or 4 more losses would put them there. Bunker composition coming on out here for Fury. Meanwhile, for SqUAk, mixture of pretty well everything. See how this one goes. Revo is going to be completely free to just shoot from the side, but it doesn't have necessarily a lot of damage because it doesn't have any items. The Archos AoE heal was pretty decent, but it is just going to be burst down. The Riptor does end up going down as well. As of right now, the red side has been able to sustain on through. They have the Pyriox as well, just firing on through alongside the Forest, and they are going to be able to tear it on through and get the W here. Fury finding that one. NPC round, just a matter of dealing with those rogues, but I have to take a look. Nice hollow rampy there for SqUAk. Congratulations on that find. Rest of the results are current standings. Foxspirit going to lead the charge alongside Patate and Zico. Soda short to follow alongside Furyz, SneG, SqUAk, and SadQ. Got Patate versus SneG. And there is a monster Lynx. I was wondering if they were going to emphasize this, and sure enough, that's exactly what they are going to do. This relentless Zephyr Lynx now on the field. Fully evolved, absolute menace, tanky, damage, it does it all. If that thing is left untouched, then oh dear. And they do also have a bunch of other strong fighters. The Riptorus, we have the Jokul, we have the Foe, we've got plenty of damage, and perfect positioning here for the Caradulo to catch these rogues to dive as they dive on through from Patate. But if they do end up bursting it down too quickly, it could still be troublesome. I know personally I'll be looking to see how fast that Caradulo does end up surviving. It does finally go down, but a lot of these rogues are already eliminated from the battlefield, and this Lynx is barely even touched. This is going to be SneG shredding through Patate. Big damage coming on through, knock them down to 56. Having the fully loaded Jokul on top of this too. This polar bear being an absolute menace. Oh, I clicked too soon. I thought that they were finished their battle, but it looks like now a battle of our top two, Foxspirit versus SqUAk. Once again here for the side of Foxspirit, the mixture of Bulwarks and Templars with a little bit of Empaths, allowing them to have Wildfire and Nature for some decent damage and decent sustain as well. But on the contrary, SqUAk with that very, very quick Mammoth able to kind of tech into Scions, and that is going to be the squeeze here for a little bit of extra DPS, but we see the Gorilla already diving on through, or whichever rogue that may end up being, diving on through, and the front line here from SqUAk has already been shredded. The only thing Foxspirit has lost right now is the Bull, but there is still plenty of front line, and the Wildfire is spreading. The Revo dancing all over the place and trying to get out of dodge, but there's too many of them, and that is going to be the damage coming on through here onto SqUAk, down to 50. SqUAk, Zadkiel, Sota, they're getting all very, very close to death's door in this instance here. And Sota and SqUAk actually have to go up against each other. And now we can see they're kind of starting to spend their credits, starting to roll for some of these higher tier units, and they have been able to both find at least the ramp fights. However, the one on the side of the green side here, on the side of Sota, seems much more jacked up in terms of items, completely loaded up. Never mind, gonna eat my words. SqUAk is going to answer as well with one of their own, but it is lower level. Not the end-all, be-all here, though. We're gonna be looking and seeing if those ramp fight ults get the value that they're looking for. They did chunk the polar bear down the half. How about some return fire? That one didn't really hit anything, though, for the side of SqUAk, but SqUAk may have not necessarily needed it at all. For whatever reason, these rogues on the side of SqUAk come in absolutely clutch, knocking Sota into death's door. We will ride along here with Sota as they fight for their life, this time up against SqUAk. It's definitely a rough one to have to lose in that last round, but let's see if they can maybe find a few more things with a couple of last second rolls. They do have some pretty beefy rogues alongside them, though. This Familiar is an absolute unit. It's going to be able to tank, but also does have the extra Arcane Accelerator on it for some additional Omega power, so it can heal and deal more damage. This Lolura as well might be a rogue, but it's basically a tank. Can this Octius on the other side get targeted down pretty quickly, or the Ferriox? There are some pretty juicy targets for Sota to have to try and take down, which right now they've been left untouched. Ramp fight to the skies is going to be able to take a couple of these units down to half, but not take them down just yet. One more jump, gonna take them down. They're onto the Ferriox, but this Octius has not been touched. It's getting the resets, it's getting the lightning, and Sota, so long. We'll see you in the next game here. Barely enough damage to get them eliminated, only 2 points away Just could not quite find the value they were looking for. Perfect opportunity. Getting a little bit loud when I get excited, fair enough. Did I forget to put a limiter on this thing? That would be a pretty newbie move to do if I did. Oh no, there is one. I probably peak like a madman though. Let me make an adjustment here. Thank you, thank you. Give you a taste of the fried mic, I suppose. But of course, I thank you for the feedback, whether it be live here in the live stream or in the YouTube videos after the fact. I accept all feedback. Still trying to continue to practice casting and setting things up as well. So if something doesn't quite sound the greatest, by all means, let me know, no offense. As we head on into this NPC round, again, it's going to be Foxspirit leading the charge here with this Nature and Wildfire. Has the 3 Wildfires now, so that extra burning and extra healing is going to be even more potent. So Foxspirit alongside Fury, SneG, Zika, Patate, SqUAk, and SneG.Atlas. SneG.Atlas going to be fighting for their life now, soon as the next round gets underway. And Furies, we trust, absolutely. Sitting in a pretty decent position right here, right now. Second place, still got a little bit of leeway to go. Of course, Naraba, thank you for tuning in. Welcome, welcome. And unlucky here for SneG.Atlas. They're gonna have to go up against Foxspirit, so they're gonna have to put some hurt in here on the leader if they want any chance of keeping themselves going here into this game. 5 Bulwarks, Templars, and Fighters, so I mean, they've got the front line, they've got some pretty decent damage as well, but can they deal with the Wildfire, Templar, Bulwark, and Empath style coming out here from Foxspirit? Dealing with this dang Ox directly in the center. Level 60 Cardiolox. Not to mention the fact that the Crunk as well is fully loaded with tank items. Got the Bear in the back line going against some of the Empaths as well. The Fern is there. The stun coming in onto it. Can they turn and burn onto it? Not in time for the Untargetable to come out in the nick of time. The Ox is down. This is the opportunity here for SneG.Atlas to get into the back line, get the damage done, but the Bear on the other side is actually taking care of the healer, but it might be too little too late. It's the Bear versus 5. Or 6 rather. I don't think they're gonna be able to pull that one off. Too much damage, too much health. They will end up falling. SneG.Atlas hanging on just a little bit longer. We now have 2 more players on death's door, and this one we're gonna ride along with SneG.Atlas because no matter what, this late in the game, somebody is going home. Or I say going home or waiting for us for the lobby for game number 2, because of course this grand final is a best of 3 accumulative points based off of your finishing positions. And, ooh, hello. Really good looking Monarch there. Let's hope and see if it can perform as good as it looks. It doesn't have the items to really back it up. However, that's Rake and the Penguin up there in the top left corner, loaded up and good to go. So we all dive on into the left-hand side. Carpet Bomb coming out here from the Monarch, and it's right on top of a couple of the squishies, including the healer. Stun gonna be coming on up here from the green side from that Goliath. The Untargetable gonna making things extremely awkward here, trying to deal around that Malura. A pretty even fight right now. A couple low health bars though for the red side. I don't think they're gonna be able to have enough to get the job done. The Monarch has fallen. It's just a matter of dealing with the Rake, and that will be the finishing blow. Patate has fallen in 7th. SneG.Atlas will live another day. And we are once again in position for 3 players to be potentially eliminated in this next round. That sounded much better. Perfect. Thank you, Gear. Thank you again for the help. Foxspirit versus Zico, SneG.Atlas versus SqUAk. So once again, yeah, we're gonna roll with this one. An elimination going to be happening in just a moment's time. SqUAk with the Air, Fire, and Inferno, while SneG trying to make this Bulwarks and Templars work once again. Of course, the 5 Bulwarks means you do have reflective damage every time you get hit. And they did add the Bulwark imprint onto that Polar Bear, so again, that Polar Bear might do a ton of damage, but it's also extremely tanky. But it doesn't matter how tanky you are if you just sit inside of a ramp fight ult, and that is gonna be some huge damage coming on through. Up again, why don't we? That Twine just melted, and that is some huge damage coming out once again. The Fiery Air Infernos coming out, burning it down. And SneG hung on for a couple rounds, gains 2 spots for it, so solid efforts there, but will end up falling. Zico Perico as well. The win streak is over. They fall in 5th. More eliminations are possible. SqUAk hanging on by a thread, now getting to go up against SneG's from Atlas. I almost said that backwards there, but hey, you know what I mean. We do have the slashing on the side of SneG. Loaded up, ready to go. Rip Lance is ready to... avoiding the Beyblade pun, but ready to just go absolutely nuts here. Loaded up on items. The Jokel as well, loaded up on items. There are a lot of scary, scary alluvials on the side of SneG. But they aren't necessarily the tankiest. Let's see if this Rip Lance can hang on. They do get eaten by the ramp fight ability, but it's not going to be enough to chunk it past hell, or past halfway. All up to the Monarch to get the job done, and I'm guessing by the glitch that is an elimination. Monarch's SqUAk going to fall in this one. Hop on over to 2 of our leaders. In Fury we trust, but it's not... Oh, actually, hang on a second. In Fury we trust indeed. That's Foxspirit falling in this one. All right. So we have some hype here from Fury. Well, appropriately so. It's in the name, and they're leading this lobby. So nicely done there. Your top 3 is here. SneG.Atlas, Foxspirit from Atlas, and FuryzHYPE as we hop on into potentially our last NPC round. Using this opportunity to take a breather to see. At least it's been a very, very awesome and exciting afternoon of Illuvium. This No Limits Leviathan tournament's been absolutely wonderful. Normally I don't stream Saturdays, but when I saw that this was going to be a thing, it's like, I have to do it. I want to do it. Definitely glad I did. Now let's see, whichever player is not going up against the Ghost is the one that we will see. Looks like it is going to be SneG. Oh, possible team kill here. SneG.Atlas versus Foxspirit. Once again, let's take a look at these team compositions for possibly one last time. On the side of Foxspirit, you got the Wildfire, the Fire Affinity, and the Nature Affinity alongside Bulwarks, Templars, and some Empaths. Meanwhile, full firepower here for SneG. They got the 7 fighters, 8 fighters even, full Berserker, tons of consistent damage. The fully loaded up Rip Lance, fully loaded up Jotun. Going to be nasty, to say the least. And we see these are some beefy alluvials, but it does not matter. There's too much damage. Link's gonna take care of the bear in the background. The snake is gone, untargetable. Well, does not matter. Eventually you will pop out and you will die. So now, Furies, SneG, your final 2. I might be nervous, well apparently so is the carousel. Shivering for a little bit. A couple of juicy pickups on the wheel. SneG getting first pick. Where are they going to opt to go? Probably at this point opting for items over the alluvial itself. Going to pick up the dash for that extra untargetable Let's take a look exactly what it was. So yeah, at 50% health, it cleanses and becomes an untargetable. Put that on a key carry and let them go nuts. Where is Fury's going? Going on over to pick up the flare, which does have that steadfast pulse, of course. If you're playing some sort of bunker style, getting the mitigation over time is really, really clutch. And I would imagine it's going right there. Yep, right on to that beautiful Hollow Archelion. Fury's setting themselves up for success here in this grand final for the first game. However, there is a ton of damage. If there is something that could possibly bust this bunker, I feel like this is probably the composition to do it. I feel like I've said that a few times here today. They've all been for naught. Let's see if this is the time. Dive on through, let's get those damage numbers up. In the back line, the Lure is going to end up going down. Here comes the Verdant proc as well to try and keep that Crunk alive, but even that is evaporating. There are a lot of evaporating health bars here in this one. Fury's is looking like they might end up falling here, but can they sustain through this Verdant? It's not going to be the case at all. The bunker has been busted. SneG.Atlas. They could do that again. That might be grand final game 1 in their favor. Now, how would you adjust going into this next round? Because, I mean, you had that bunker pretty tight. Allura did end up falling very, very quickly into that round. A couple of the fighters just turned and burned on it. I know the Polar Bear specifically took it out. How do they adjust for this? They have it going up against the Lynx instead. Can it maybe distract this bottom half long enough so that they can maybe take care of the Rip Lance or something like that? The Verdant already procs. That Twine just got evaporated. So does the Singe. And this is looking like rinse and repeat here. I don't think Fury has the healing to be able to get through this. I think they will end up going down. And sure enough, that will be grand final game number 1 of this No Limit Leviathan tournament, being won by SneG.Atlas. Fighters and rogues, just overall firepower, the name of the game here for SneG, and that will be game 1, of course, in their favor, with that fighter berserker style with the extra rogue as well. That's slashing just for that extra thorn in your side. FuryHYPE though, with that verdant nature style, able to get up to seconds, still a very, very valiant run. Foxspirit, nature wildfire style. The fact that the two of these were competing for nature alluvials was probably a thorn in their side as well. To round up our top 4, SqUAk with the air, fire, and inferno style. All right, game number 2 of our grand finals here in this No Limit Leviathan tournament. We've got our players, of course. We've got Zed from Team Hype, Patate from Team Hype, Foxspirit from Team Atlas, Sota from Team Hype, Zico Perico, SneG from Team Atlas, Furyz from Team Hype, and SqUAk from Team Monarch. Hype absolutely all over the place rather in this grand final. Although game number 1 did go over to Atlas, as it was SneG who did take that one down. And we see Zed, this little Atipo that could or cannot. It's loaded up with items, but I don't think it's going to be able to shred on through. Zico Perico going to take the win of that first little round. SqUAk versus Foxspirit going into this next round. Of course, a very, very early game, keeping things simple. Let's take a look and see these levels. Of course, it's Foxspirit. I would imagine they've got these things at the highest level they possibly could. On the other side, still some pretty decent leveled up ones until I see the Water Groko, or Doka rather, because they have 2 of them on the field, so fair enough. I would imagine that not very many people are going to level up more than one of each alluvial. But you can see in certain circumstances like this, it could very well be beneficial to do so. Because that is going to be Foxspirit getting the shot in this time onto SqUAk. Alright, Furyz, our winner, or second place rather, from the first grand final game. Going up against the winner from the last game here. There we go, that's what I was trying to say. But the three fighters on the side of SneG, well, we do have, of course, Furyz going to be opting for the row. You got the level 2 or the stage 2 Tipo in the middle, but other than a little extra sustain with the shield, it's not necessarily the most offensively damning. This Lynx, however, absolutely will be. Level 50, 2 items in their pocket as well. If it's left alone, it might be able to carry this one. Let's get those DPS numbers up and see exactly what I'm talking about. The Revo doing a pretty decent job as well, and a very, very clean battle here for Furyz. Shredding on through, taking that one. Sota versus SqUAk into this next round here. SqUAk with the 3 bulwarks, or now 3 empaths rather. Possibly looking to transition over. They did have the 3 bulwarks a second ago, but now opting for 4 empath and just bunkering down in the corner. I mean, we've been seeing them play that kind of play style pretty much all tournament long, and been rather successful at doing so. Meanwhile, on the opposite side here for Sota, looking to try and get the job done, bust this thing, but again, there's so much sustain between the shields and the heals. It does not seem like they're going to be able to bust as of this moment. They are finally starting to be able to take a few down, though, and they might now have the numbers to be able to do so. The Fleesh targeting the other Fleesh, getting them down, and sure enough, a rather convincing win now over here for Sota. Getting some good damage onto SqUAk. That's one thing about sustain-based compositions. I feel like, for the most part, they really don't start coming online until the tail end of the game. Granted, SqUAk, for playing that kind of style so often, for the most part, does find themselves at the top of the list, within the top 4 at least, for the majority of their games. Curious to see how that goes on moving forward here. We hop on into the carousel. SneG going to get their first pick, going to pick up that Vermilia. We've seen the Vermilios for Vermiliers used quite consistently here throughout this tournament, just because of how prominent tanks are and the amount of damage that they actually seem to do. You think of tank that know that they're supposed to hold the front line, but no, for a lot of these compositions, the tanks are doing first or second on the team in terms of damage. So you can get a quick jump in picking up some of those Vermilias. That would be a fantastic pickup. So we now hop in with Patate and SqUAk and see what they're running as of this moment. Early Granite actually coming out here for SqUAk. Meanwhile, on the other side, with Patate, we do have the One Earth Nature, decent front line set up there with the Groko right in the face of the opponent alongside the 3 fighters. They have the items to deal with it. This Lynx might not necessarily be a fighter right now, but it has the items to act like one. Is it going to be enough to plow through this team? And they get immediately onto the Archos, which is going to be kind of devastating actually here for SqUAk. The heal is gone regardless of the tank items you have on it. And this fighter team has wound up. They are just destroying everything in its path. TNT's not going to be long for this world either. You might be able to reduce damage, but you can't reduce it that much. SqUAk going to take some damage themselves here in this one. Foxspirit still the only one to not get a loss in this game so far here. Hopping on over with SqUAk as well, who of course had that empath kind of bunker style going on in the bottom right, opting to throw a bunch of their items on turning this SqUAkLess into a menace. Now we don't really seem to get too much SqUAkLess usage, but the thing does have a stun attached to it, and it can be an absolute menace to deal with if it's left alone. Going to be opting to take this into the front line to try to challenge this level 60 Lynx as the rest of the rogues dive on in right onto the Apon. That's going to be 3 of them stunned up. The Atlas down on the side of SqUAk. There's the big stun onto the juiced up Lynx. It's going to take it down, and here we go. It might be an enchanter, but it is doing a pretty decent amount of damage, but the numbers are not in its favor, but the health bars just might be. One goes down, the gorilla goes down. It's up to the Chuko and the ranger to try and get the job done, but they are doing nothing but hitting shield. A fantastic play here for SqUAk to challenge that level 60 Lynx immediately right off the rip. That SqUAkLess doing over 6,000 damage in that one round this early in the game is pretty crazy, not going to lie. And with that, Patate will now be moving forward as the leader in this lobby as Foxspirit loses their first round in this second game. Hop on in here with SneG.Atlas going up against SneG.Atlas. Composition going to be based around the fighters, of course, for both sides rather. However, looking at the side of SneG.Atlas, it does seem a little bit more fleshed out. 5 fighters plus Berserker. Have to see if that translates. Good little stun there from that SqUAk, and it's going to shut down so many in the middle. And the polar bear is going nuts. The Lynx is going nuts, and it will tear through. 3 of them still alive. Atlas is SneG going to take some additional damage here. Almost down, or all the way down to 61. Our second place finisher in that last game as well, FuryzHYPE, is now down to 71. Some rather rough starts for a couple of our winners from last time. If the game were to basically finish the way that it stands right now, that grand finals would be anybody's game. Exactly what I would like to see entertainment-wise. We have our top 2 going at it here. Let's see what kind of slugfest we're in for this time. Fighters versus rogues. This would be the part where I normally say that a rogue doesn't want to go up against a fighter. But if there's a group of rogues able to just swarm them down, they seem to win over and over again. And there's enough firepower, and it seems to be a lot reliant on this greater monk here. Almost level 60, so this thing's almost maxed. It's in a very, very good position to the point where only one rogue can hit it. It takes out the ranger, it takes out the Chuko. Can it get going here? Thankfully, the one Groko on its team does fall to allow it to get on in and start swinging. A little bit of a back and forth charmed away, so it's stuck versus the 4. It's going to take 1 down, but it's not going to be enough. Foxspirit going to take that one on Patate, allowing for SqUAk to once again find themselves back in that top 2 position here in this lobby. Still the same idea, just with a little bit of extra tank. They do, of course, got the headache now there for a little bit of extra defense. The ace is here as well if they want to maybe transition to something fire-based later. But what about down at the bottom here? Got FuryzHYPE as well as SneG.Atlas, 2 and 1 respectively in the last game, of course. There is a lot of fighter usage, to say the least, in this tournament. Lot of fighters. Fighters and rogues for the most part, but at the same time I'm seeing a decent amount of bunker too. Like I might be seeing certain styles a lot, but it's not that other styles can't work, it's just what people are comfortable with. And honestly, that's kind of a good place to be. Is it Keel versus Furies? Let's see if Fury can turn this around here. Start snowballing in their favor. It's a Keel with the 5 fighters alongside the rogue and 1 tank. Meanwhile, on the side of Fury, Borg Aegis alongside the 2 fighters and a rogue. This fully decked out Stabin is going to be terrifying to deal with, though. Where is it going? It looks like it's going right for that Twine. You can see the Twine's supposed to be a tank, but each of these auto attacks are still chunking so heavily. Some decent AoE damage down in the bottom section, though. That Revo did a pretty good job of dealing with it. Can they deal with the Penguin? The healer is gone. The Archers is gone. The Penguin's been left alone, and it's going to chop away through. Floss on them as they get the victory here in this one. FuryHYPE below 50, now set at 47. Sure enough, leading the team in damage is that Stabin. Not quite over 9,000 this time, but very, very close. Feel like it's been a little bit since we rode along with SqUAk. Let's see how they do versus Perico. That's still the Kukulus, or did they level this thing up? It is the Kukulus. Okay, so still the stage 2 version of it. I'll say SqUAk looks like they're setting themselves up for some granite usage, and sure enough, that is going to be the case. They have the 2 already. If this Ranger is unbound, maybe they can even get a 3rd. I could be wrong, though. Meanwhile, Perico looking like they're setting themselves up for a wildfire bunker once again. And that Hetty is completely decked out in tank items, so we know Perico loves to just hold the line and heal through everything, with a lot of Illuvials that just have high health bars. Looking like they're setting themselves up for that kind of play once again here. Kukulus gets the stun onto the Axon right as the AC-130 flies on through. Dead center in the middle of everybody, though, so it's not exactly the greatest of spots for it. It's going to get immediately taken off the board. Eddie gets a good blind here onto the Polar Bear, stopping its DPS for at least a little bit. But it's still sustaining very, very strongly through here. TNT left untouched as well, just constantly firing off those bursts. There goes the Archos chopping on through. And Perico will end up falling. The bunker has been busted once again here. SqUAk taking the W on that one. Off to the carousel, we have a couple of tier 4s making themselves known, but at the same time, some pretty good items on a couple of these tier 1s. Primeval Force, of course, is a very, very valuable augment if you can stick that on something that does a lot of auto attack damage. So Sota, of course, having the rogues is going to absolutely love having that. It does give you some Omega power as well, so even giving that to your Ranthy is not necessarily a bad idea. Speaking of Sota, we do actually have them in this one here, and it's been a little while since we've rolled with Sota, so I want to see them in action. Just as, of course, Perico does land the Wildfire proc. Does level this thing up to the Kronk level 46, loaded up with items, not too shabby if I do say so myself. And I was going to say, I would imagine Perico would replace the Ace. That was the one thing that was constantly kind of get him in trouble. It would just dive itself on through and pretty well die immediately. However, in their team composition here, they did leave a perfect little gap for the Ranthy to dive on through. Did they get in there? Yes, they did, in the perfect position. Let's see if that ability comes on through. To the skies it goes, and it melts everything. Beautifully done here for Sota to get the job done. Now they just have to deal with this tank line. And the blind's gonna come on through one more time, Rampy to the skies. It's taking so much of this damage, but it's only a tank. It's only a matter of time before it falls. SqUAk gonna go down again. Unfortunately, positioning is so critical, and they let the Rampy do exactly what it pleases. Foxspirit, what are you up to? You're going up against SneG. Let's take a look and see what we got now. So, plenty of rogues here for the side of Foxspirit, including that Verminio. Again, might be a tank, but at the same time, this thing can still chunk ya. Meanwhile, on the side of SneG, almost all in on fighters with the exception of the one lone Caradulo. We've seen a play like this kind of similarly in game number 1. How fast does the Caradulo get melted, though? It's basically off the table already, so it's up to the fighters to try and knock them out as quick as they can. It looks like it's successful as of this moment. There's still so many fighters left to go. Foxspirit gonna take some decent damage off of SneG. Off to the NPC round. We still have Foxspirit leading the lobby with Sota short to follow. Granted, 21 points behind, so Foxspirit doing a pretty good job of controlling the lobby as of this moment, but from Sota to Patate, only the 1 point separating them. Then Fury, SqUAk, SneG.Atlas, and SneG. Nobody getting eliminated, not yet, but we are starting to get a little close as we do see. Let's see what Fury's up to. Fury versus Sota, I feel like we just saw one of them. SqUAk, SneG. Let's see what's going on here in the midfield, right around that 50 health mark. SqUAk opting for the 5 bulwarks, does also have the Joko here for damage, has the Sephoris as well, for a little bit of extra firepower in the back line. But also proc Granite eventually if they do happen to level up these Scarabox. Meanwhile, on the side of SneG, do have the one rogue there with the stab in, but you have 5 fighters. It's a lot of damage, but of course, the tanks, the bulwarks are going to be reflecting damage every single time they get hit. Can they hold the line? Jokel's going to find their first victim. A good stun onto the back line. Fernight does get stopped for a second. Sephoris winding on up. It's going to take care of one of them as well. A little bit of a polar bear battle. Takes care of the Axon on the right-hand side. But now that the 2 polar bears have found each other, the red one is going to fall, which means SqUAk is in a perfect position now to just turn onto this Fernight, pops the missiles, and pops the chicken. It is gone. SneG.Atlas now down 38. And sure enough, now the Granite is in check here for SqUAk. So it's definitely something I'm going to be keeping my eye on as we go on through this one. Furies, what are you up to? You're up against Foxspirit. Let's see how this ends up going. Three bloom here for Fury this time, including that forest that is loaded up on items. That thing is going to be a menace. 3 fighters gives it a bunch of attack speed as well. The rogues are here and ready to rock. But a perfect opportunity actually here for the forest to just immediately get rid of the disruption. The Quinks in the top left gets immediately shredded. And now this forest in the middle is completely left alone to tear through everything. It's right next to its Archos as well. Even if it were to take some heat, it's healed right away. But it does get blinded. Has to get through the Lura. It does end up doing so. Now it's just up to dealing with the Joey. Very, very quick fashion. Beautifully done here from the forest on the side of Fury. is now. Dead center we are with SneG.Atlas and Sota. Sota does have the Rampy, of course, completely loaded up. Almost a level 61 as well. Almost the best thing you could possibly have, depending on what its stats end up looking like here. But it's loaded up on items, including the evasive veiling, so if it gets focused, it does not matter. It'll become untargetable. Meanwhile, on the other side here, for SneG does have the Rip Lance loaded up and good to go as well. Rogues dive on in, Rip Lance untouched immediately. Look at this thing shred. Good thing that Rampy had the untargetable, because otherwise it would not have gotten its ability off. But even still, that Rip Lance is so tanky, and it's doing so much damage. Every one of those little shanks hurts like heck, and it will be SotaHYPE taking a ton of damage, now being put onto death's door. I'm a liar, it's at 23. Nobody's at death's door, not yet. Still, my goodness, that Rip Lance was absolutely disgusting. It is level 60 as well, so this is just absolutely devastating. It gets its ability so quickly too, and it's a good, strong sting. Taking a look at a couple of these battles down towards the bottom. Oh, SqUAk's actually on death's door here, going up against Furyz. Very well could have our first elimination of our second game here in this grand finals if SqUAk can't quite pull it off. It does have the heals, a decent mixture of fighters and bulwarks and empaths, so they've got the front line necessary and the supports, but do they have the damage to really get this done? Relying very heavy on this Jokel to be the DPS that they're looking for. Meanwhile, plenty of options, including that forest that we've seen just shred earlier, and it looks like it's picking up right where it left off. This TrueShite, it does get stunned up though by the Goliath on the side of SqUAk, and right in the middle there is a ton of damage just going on through, but it is not going to be in the favor of SqUAk. The forest is still alive, the healer's the last one standing, and SqUAk will be our first elimination here in this second match of the grand final. Couple tier 5s on the board as well. Sota going to be the first to move because they have the lowest HP. Immediately going to snag that Rampy. It does have the item or the augment that allows them to get a ton of Omega power and damage amplification. Put that on your mage, put that on a rogue or the Jokel. Either way, it's still a ton of damage that can be put through. And oddly enough, it's crazy to think that the tier 5 was left till the last little bit, but nobody is really playing water at all in this tournament. So to be fearful of the Alfie is not necessarily something that happens too much here. I think I've maybe seen the Alfie line used once in our streamed matches, and that did not end pretty. So Scions in general, water, couple of the Illuvials that I don't necessarily see too much here. I could have been just absolutely unlucky in regards to the matches I've streamed, but even still, I've maybe only seen an Octius, for example, maybe twice. Seen the Alfie once. We do see TNT, of course, but that is still a tier 1, and 2, you're probably using it to get granted anyway. So it has like a bit of a secondary thing in regards to Scion specifically. But of course, that's another thing about the Leviathan portion of this Illuvium Arena No Limits tournament, because I'm talking about Scions, but what say if somebody doesn't actually like playing Scions? That's not the team they necessarily built. Do they even have it leveled up? And it seems like, at least right now to me, that nobody seems to have Scions leveled up to a point where they're comfortable, I guess, maining it, if that makes any sense. Alright, down towards the bottom. It looks like one way or another, somebody is going to be waiting for us in the lobby for the next game. Zico Perico and SqUAk. Sota. Kind of baited myself a little bit. I thought they were playing each other, but not the case right here, right now. Let's roll along with Zico and SqUAk since we're right here. That is a SqUaAk on the side of Zico Perico. They got the damage dealer that they were looking for. They were really struggling trying to find that earlier. But a huge tornado coming on through from the Fur on the green side. Just disrupting everything for just a little bit. That Archos is trying so hard to keep everybody alive, but it's not doing enough healing. There's just too much damage. There's too much of a front line. Now it's just a wet noodle fight at the front line alongside the mages on the left-hand side here from SqUAk. And I think for the first time in a long time, we're going to see Zico Perico fall outside the top 4. They will be eliminated here in game number 2. Sota does also fall here, so that's going to put Zico Perico by a single point. We'll have to see if that actually becomes huge later. By a single point going ahead of Sota. Crazy to see. What's also crazy to see here is the fact that SneG winning the first lobby went extremely low in this second game, but seems to have a little bit of a win streak going for themselves. We'll have to see if they can continue that going up against SqUAk. And just look at that Rip Lance damage. Immediately shreds the Krunk. That thing's supposed to be a tank, and it got crushed so badly. Axon getting chunked down to half as well. Nobody can deal with this damn Scorpion. Look at it go, stabbing everything in its path. It's finally gonna get stunned up, but at that point, it's too little, too late. There's still way too many fighters on the field. SneG is on a roll, and maybe just can't be stopped. Got a couple possible eliminations. In fact, a little bit of a run back from our game-winning round in game number 1. SneG.Atlas, we're gonna ride with them again here and see if that Rip Lance can continue to do absolute devastation as they go up against FuryzHYPE, who's at death's door. If they lose this one, they will fall. Furies with a mixture of fighters, Bulwarks, Aegis, and a Templar, but on first glance, it looks like Atlas is just a little bit more of a well-rounded composition, especially when their critical members are just destroying everything that Fury wants to hold dear. As the Fur Knight goes down, it's just the backline and a Polar Bear left. They're not long for this world. FuryzHYPE has been eliminated in 4th place. And I had to take a second there. It's like, wait a second, 4th place? Because Patate also has been eliminated, now in 5th place. 2 HYPE members down. There was 5 HYPE members in this grand final. None of them are going to make the podium. Now let's see which one here is actually player versus player. Atlas versus SqUAk. That is a beefy Titanor on the side of SqUAk. Probably one of the best tanks that you can ask for. But again, the firepower coming out here from SneG. Is that going to be enough to deal with it? Or you just completely bypass a Titanor and go right for the healing line? The Rip Lance is exactly where it wants to be. It's having a field day on this Alfie. A field day on the Fur Knight as well. Sephora's is not going to be long for this world, but you still now have to deal with 2 tanks. But there's the 2 fighters, extremely low health. Do they have enough damage to take care of the Rip Lance? It has some sustain. It's fighting through, and the Rip Lance again is going to be able to take the win here. Unbelievable stuff coming out from this little Scorpion. chatters, by all means, let me know how bad I fried my mic, because that was ridiculous. I absolutely love the rip plants. I love seeing it do well, and I love seeing it pop off here in this tournament play. Not biased at all, I swear. Of course, while we're going through this NPC round, just again going to quickly go over the results as of this moment. So of course Foxspirit still leading the lobby, but seeming to have a little bit of a harder time here with these rogues. SneG had a very, very tough early game. Got chunked down super quickly, found the fighters they were looking for, and has been really clutching it out, especially with that Rip Lance, with that Scorpion. And then SqUAk got chunked down pretty early as well, was down to 50 very quickly. Must have stepped on the gas a little bit sooner than some of the other players, because they've been able to steadily find some wins. But now I'm not sure if anybody is going to have enough to stop SneG from getting their second win here in this grand finals and putting themselves in a beautiful position to win this first Illuvium Arena No Limits Leviathan tournament. But we're gonna have to see SqUAk has to go up against Foxspirit's rogues. Has plenty of tank to be able to take that first initial burst from the rogues, but we know how good they are at managing to find these squishies, but so many of them just jumped right onto the Titanor, and they're barely denting the thing, but somehow in the back line, that Familiar just did a ton of damage, but they might be able to sustain through, and it looks like the rogues from Foxspirit don't have the firepower to get the job done. And actually, I must have commentators cursed it a little bit, because the Alfie line is being used, and it's finding some success here. And it looks like we're down to what happened? SneG.Atlas was going up against a ghost. I thought they were fine. And they end up getting eliminated. What on earth went down? I am not quite sure, but I think one way or another, we are having ourselves a new winner here in this grand final, and it's happening this time on this round. SqUAk versus Foxspirit. Here we go. Let's take a look at these compositions one more time. So again, with the side of Foxspirit, they have the rogues to get the job done. They weren't able to do it the first time by, though. There was just too much tank. They jumped right onto the Titanor. And I fear that it's going to be some of the same, but at the same time, there isn't necessarily a very good option for them to get in there. Let's see what happens. Here comes the water cannon from the Alfie. Takes down 3, 4 so quickly. They were able to protect it just enough. And the stun on the Quinks right as they were about to charm. Anything that could possibly go wrong here for Foxspirit seems to be going wrong. And there's still just too much tank, too many bodies to get through to let the Alfie line go nuts. SqUAk is your winner here for game number 2. Let's give a shout out to our top 4 and see, of course, what they were running. The beefy tank line there, the Bulwark and Colossus alongside the Scions, letting the Sepphoris as well as the Alfie line go absolutely nuts. Foxspirit had the rogues, but just could not find the chink in the armor to get past SqUAk. SneG, they seemed like they were on an absolute roll. The fighters were unstoppable until they fought a ghost, and it just did not quite go in their favor. The final game of the grand finals for this Illuvium Arena No Limits Leviathan tournament. Alright, there we go. So, of course, the tail of the tape here for the tournament as of right now, for those just kind of joining in. Game 1 of this grand final did go over to SneG.Atlas and FuryzHYPE in second. Game number 2, it looked like SneG.Atlas was originally going to just be down and out, got beat on extremely quickly, then made the comeback, but fell in third place after the fact, which is where we did get to see some new winners. SqUAk taking that one. In terms of mathematical likelihood of who ends up winning, it's everybody who's in that top 4 as of right now. So your top 4 currently, of course, SneG.Atlas, separated by 1 point is Foxspirit from Team Atlas, SqUAk from Team Monarch, and FuryzHYPE from Team Hype. Of course, still plenty of things can fluctuate here in this grand finals, and there's still plenty of prizing, some decent upgrades if you can manage to move up a position or 2 here. But this entire top 8 will be going home with some ILV token as a prize. As for how much, it'll depend on this game right here, right now, as we see PatateHYPE actually, or PatateHYPE, not Potate, PatateHYPE, alongside FuryzHYPE. Take a look one more time, and sure enough, level 60s to be found. Pretty considerably. Let's get those damage numbers out here. You can see how much this Lynx can pull off on the southern side, going up against the Doka. Doka versus the Ace in the background. The Ace isn't even trying to deal with this Doka, so it will end up falling here. Fury gonna end up losing that one. Vermilia up against the Doka, and he end up getting chopped. Can't take out the Doka in time. No, the Doka with that extra additional attack speed is going to be able to take care of Vermilia, and the Grotko holds the other Doka in place. So Fury going to take some heats there in that one. As a reminder for anybody either just tuning in now or might be watching this in the video later on, I do want to, of course, give the shout out to Illuvium. I'm not sponsored, but I do want to mention that first off, this is free to play. Leviathan specifically is free to play as well. That is where the NFTs come into play though, because stats and levels do mean a thing if you actually own the Illuvials. However, if you don't want to touch NFTs, do not have to touch it whatsoever. You can just use the other game mode that majority of the ranked play is played on, the normal Gauntlet Arena, because that, you don't have to worry about any sort of NFTs, just play the game. I did not realize the emotes had sound effects, but a couple of those were kind of funny. But let's take a look. So SqUAk has been consistently playing a empath-based healing and shielding kind of composition. I'm curious if they're kind of doing that already right now. They do have 2 of each, or 3 now. Third empath coming on through alongside the 2 bulwarks and the 2 fighters, but not necessarily getting the play style that we've been seeing them do over and over again so far here in this tournament. Meanwhile, SqUAk, after finding the high of winning that second game, let's see if they can do it again. And a lot of that success was also attributed to the Sephorist having a ton of damage. And we see the little baby, the Tatofi, there in the back lines, or maybe trying to set up for something similar. The Ace is going to fly on through and now start messing with the Tatofi. But of course, by taking damage, you're also gaining energy a little bit faster. Is there enough time to get the burst out? It does, but it's not really enough to really deal with the Ace. The Ace is going to end up flying away. Health bar is looking pretty good here on the green side. Here for SqUAk. And as soon as the Tatofi falls, that will be SqUAk taking that one. I mean, I like what SqUAk's going for. It has many Earths right now. Or Earth Alluvials, rather. Many Earths. That sounds like a normal sentence. This time by, let's run with Zadkiel as they go up against Fury. Fury opting for mainly rogues. You got 4 of them as of right now, including the Ranger. The Ace is loaded up with items as well up in the very top right-hand corner. Then just shoot from afar. Meanwhile, Bulwarks and Fighters is the name of the game here on the other side. That Lynx is going to be, of course, absolutely devastating. Here comes the Ace, flying out through directly into the stun from that Grass Groko. And while this is all going on, the Gorilla and the rest of the squad here is just shredding through everybody. Zadkiel getting a fantastic start here in this game, while 3 of our top 4 are in the bottom half. Three of our top 4 in the tournament, I should clarify. But I feel like we haven't necessarily got the opportunity to ride along and see what Sota is up to, so let's do that as they take on SqUAk. Does have quite the jacked up Lynx here. Level 50 it looks like, loaded up on items. This thing is going to be very strong as long as it gets left alone. Has a little bit of a partner as well here. Another very solid leveled Lynx. And they're going to end up going to the bottom. They're going to immediately take care of this Choco so the Fleesh can get their ability off. The Ace is going to come flying on through, but it's just going to feed itself over to the Lynx. And so far, so good here for Sota versus Zico. Zico is about to lose their tank, and now it's just a matter of time before they lose their backline. It will end up falling, it looks like, slowly but surely. There it is. Good start here for Sota to get themselves on the podium in the first place, but to also have themselves in second place here. And props to, of course, Zadkiel to get themselves in the lead here. Up against Tate in this one. Patate with the 3 bulwarks as of right now, so getting a pretty decent bonus to their defenses. 20 for all of the bulwark units. But on the opposite side here for Zadkiel, they've been able to find themselves 4, almost getting the 5th. If they're able to get 5, of course, they get that reflective damage. Where every time they would get hit, they basically deal a little bit of damage back. Let's pop open the damage calcs and see how this one ends up going here. Lots of eyes going to be on that Lynx as it chops away alongside the Greater Monk here towards their tank line. Doka now exposed, but the Ranger in the back line is just chopping away. But look how tanky this dang Lynx is. It has the Ranger just firing away on it for such a long time, only now finally going to be able to take it down. That Bull is just too strong alongside the damage from the Ranger. What looks like was going to be a for-sure thing here for the green side is not going to be the case. Zadkiel is going to fall here slowly but surely. Patate taking that one. With Zadkiel fallen in that one, that does mean our leader is now Sota. Sota just really with the 3 bulwarks as of right now. And running through our current results here, and especially keeping an eye on our top 4. Who in the Discord was calling out for Foxspirit? Because right now, you look like you're in prime position to capitalize on that. Because, of course, Sota leads alongside Zadkiel. But Foxspirit is sitting there on the podium in 3rd right now alongside SqUAk, PatateHYPE. And then here's the rest of our top 4 in the tournament. SqUAk, SneG, Furyz, 6th, 7th, and 8th respectively. However, we've seen SneG in this position before. In the last game, of course, they were knocked down pretty much all the way down to 20 HP. And then they had a hell of a run alongside the back of a Rip Lance. And nearly made it happen. Got themselves all the way to the podium, but could not get the job done after that. So let's hop in here. SotaHYPE versus SneG. We've got a heck of a lot of rogues. 7 rogues on the side of Sota. Meanwhile, SneG's got a ton of fighters, and they do have that Berserker proc as well to deal with. Revo flying on through. Only be able to take out a couple, and it looks like the rogues are going to be able to prevail. It was just down to the links, and there was nothing that they could do. SneG taking another solid whack here, getting knocked down to 53. Sota getting so many rogues so quickly seems to be paying dividends. Currently 8 right now. And of course there is a bonus. You get to 7, you get additional crit amp, which just makes your crits hit that much harder. Sometimes can feel like a little bit of a roll of the dice playing that way, but when it goes good, it goes great. SqUAk, what are you up to? You're up against SneG.Atlas, it looks like, so let's see. One of the top 4 players currently in our tournament. I'm going to take a little bit of a comeback here. Currently the full bulwarks as well as the 2 empaths. Does also have the Lura there, level 31, to just dive on through and try and disrupt just a little bit longer. Once again, though, this Relentless Lynx is going to be a nuisance. It has a bunch of different imprints to try and make the team work around it. We'll have to see how that ends up going. That Singe is exactly where it wants to be, spinning right across a bunch of the tank lines. Big AoE damage there, and so far, this looks beautiful right here, right now, for the side of SneG.Atlas. But that Fernite in the background does have them all rather low. Can they make this work? We'll have to see in just a second. Fernite fighting for his life, but I don't think it's going to be 4-0, or it will be 4-0 rather. Still 4 members left to go. Does end up going down. Tier 4 is now on the board, but some strong augments once again on the board. SneG going to be the first one to be able to pick up the Omega Power Boost. Same thing with Patate. Zico Perico, what are you going to end up going for? Is maybe looking for that Fern, but it got sniped away from them at the last possible moment. Now Foxspirit gets the second to last pick. Going to end up picking up the Mamu to get the shield based on health. And now the final 2, rather. SneG.Atlas as well as Sota. Going to grab themselves some empaths and call it a day. We were just riding with SneG.Atlas. Let's see what Fury is up to. Up against Patate. So let's see how this one goes. Of course, Patate opting for the rogues. Has 7 of them so far, as well as the Revenant boof on Revenant buff on top of that. Coincide alongside the crits. However, 5 bulwarks. So now that reflective damage is starting to come into play here. Have to see how it goes, because this is how those tanks start to really start topping the DPS charts, when they can just keep reflecting damage like that. Ramfy, though, is going to come out to play. Gets a finishing blow there onto Cartolo. Still the 4 rogues left to go, but there's still a couple of decent health bars, or rather just like SqUaAk, rather, is the only thing with the health bar. But everything else is just going to get melted. FuryzHYPE going to be able to keep themselves in the game, taking Patate down to 44. Foxspirit, where are you at? Foxspirit, SneG.Atlas. I feel like I've seen a lot of SneG.Atlas. This is a top 4 battle. Let's see what we've got this time. Oh boy, it's building. It's growing. Riptorus is here, and I only emphasize that because, of course, the Rip Lance was so huge for SNEG in the last game to be able to make the comeback. Getting it to the Riptorus already is definitely a good thing. 7 fighters as well, so they've got basically what they want compared to the 7 rogues on the other side. Diving on through, Ramfy in the background trying to mess with that Lynx. Is going to be successful at doing so as the Zerg Swarm comes flying on through. Nowhere to move, nowhere to go. You're getting hit one way or another. And that one is going to be FuryzHYPE. Keep themselves in the game. SNEG doesn't quite have the firepower just yet. Once again, if I were to take a look at that, the damage chart as well, there's something about the Verminios or Vermillionaires that always throw me off guard. This thing's supposed to be a tank, but yet it's still just topping damage charts with defensive items. I've been ignoring it so long in my ranked games. Trust me, after today, that is no longer going to be the case. Card standings as of this moment. SotaHYPE leading the lobby pretty considerably here, sitting at 91 compared to Foxspirit at 77. Then Keel with 66, Fury with 55, SqUAk 50, SqUAk 44, SneG 40, and then Patate with 31. Been a little bit since we rode with SqUAk. Let's get some time in the sun, why don't we? As we do see, sure enough, their bunker composition has returned. They just leveled up to the Periox as well, so they've got their damage dealer. But do they really have the items to kind of support it? They do have a couple at least. Maybe not necessarily what they would want specifically, but it's decent enough. So the 5 bulwarks alongside the 4 empaths. Once again, time to crack a bunker. Let's see if the squad here from Patate has enough to get the job done. They do have their own sustain. Their Archos is here as well, alongside this level 60 Golion. But all of the items really being dumped here onto this Jokul, level 60 Jokul as well. So this thing's going to be fierce if they can manage to stay safe, as we do see paired up with the Riptorus as well. But as of right now, 2 of the tank line have been taken down. The Jokul has been focused down, though. It gets shredded extremely quickly. It was too far away from its support line. And SqUAk is going to pick up where they left off and make this bunker comp work and take care of Patate, putting them onto death's door, which we will take a look at in just a moment's time. And sure enough, it's going to be Foxspirit to put the pressure on them here in this one. Oh, ain't that a beauty, as we do hop on over. Foxspirit getting to pick up the Kukaraf, fully loaded and fully evolved. I feel like this is the first time we've seen it all tournament, or at least for games that we've streamed. This thing, once it gets going, is pretty well a menace in its own right. It has its own stun built in for a little crowd control. It's pretty tanky on top of it. It's not necessarily a fighter, but damn well it behaves like one as it's going up against the Jokul. Bird versus the bear. It looks like the bird is going to barely win, but now the Riptor is from behind. It's going to be able to get the finishing blow, and this is actually looking pretty good here for PatateHYPE. The shock is just raining down slowly but surely, but not enough to take it down, at least not as of yet. Tiru in the background, and the gyro. The gyro is actually going absolutely crazy here. Sonic speed indeed. They're somehow able to do it, and Patate, because it was so close, is not down, not yet. Every alluvial counted there. Had any more been on the board, I feel like Patate would be eliminated here in this tournament. But they have another breath of life here. And that very well might be the first time that I've seen a gyro clutch up like that. Beautifully done. Zadkiel versus Patate. Of course, Patate's still on death's door. Zadkiel fully loaded with 5 bulwarks, including this fully loaded Seer as a tank. A tough task to deal with. And no, based off the positioning itself, the Joker can't move in this instance. It's not going to be able to do any damage until a bunch of its teammates end up falling. And that is a heartbreaking mistake to have to play. It could only start getting into the battle now. And not only is it going up against the Seer is super effective against it. It's going to build Hyper. It's getting more damage done faster. And it is going to be shredded down slowly but surely here. I felt like this was a close battle, but unfortunately the Joker being trapped might seal, or might have been the move that sealed Patate's fate. Patate shall be eliminated in 8th place here in game number 3. In regards to overall tournament placings, I'm not quite sure. We'll get those results as they come on in here. Part of me wants to check up on SneG. Because they're down. I don't think they'll get eliminated unless they take a bad loss here. But they have the composition they want, and sure enough, they get to go up against Fury. And they have their Rip Lance. They have the tools they want. They have 8 fighters. They have all the attack damage and attack speed that they could possibly want. Just a matter of shredding on through this Ranger. Can this ramp fight do a bunch of damage? It will be enough to take care of the Rip Lance, but there's still so much more firepower on the side of SneG. Revo gonna come on in and try and make do. The Penguin, though, it shredded everything. It was stuck in the corner, but it had a little bit of extra range to get the job done. SneG down to 5 now. It wasn't a bad loss, so they're not out. But they have to basically play perfect Illuvium in order to have any chance at winning this tournament. Of course, they currently stand first in this tournament, but it's literally only by 1 point. Right now in 7th would not be enough to maybe even hold the podium, let alone first. SqUAk's not safe either, though. 14 HP. At this point in the game, that's probably enough to take you out if you lose. They somehow managed to find the stage 3, the Blazon Knight here. Got it fully decked out with items as well, with augments. Although on top of that, that's a very, very beautiful bird, but if only it could heal your total health. We'll have to see who the first opponent is, because I swear if SqUAk ends up having to play SneG, that would be huge. Check up on our other top 4, or we'll check up on the entire lobby real fast as well. Sota, Foxspirit, Fury, Zico, Zadkiel, SqUAk, and SneG. Oh, SneG has to go up against Sota, who's leading the lobby, so this could make or break it here for our current tournament leader. Of course, SneG completely loaded and dedicated to that fighter style, including finding our relentless floor links that is the tier 3 or the stage 3 variant of it. A classic case though, going up against a bunch of rogues. Watch out for the ramp fight. It's going directly into the center. And it's got itself in a pretty good position. It could probably hit 3 or 4 units if it gets to go up without issue. The Rip Lance is going to walk directly in to the ramp fight ult as well. They all evaporated, and that is absolutely worst case scenario here for SNEG, who's going to fall in 7th place. Was an absolute worst case scenario. The Rip Lance kind of lost its pathing, lost its way in the first couple of seconds, only to then retarget directly into the ramp fight. Definitely hate to see it, but that's not the only person now on death's door. SneG went from leading, now sitting there with 3 health left, but we also have the possibility, and I'm going to end up focusing this one here, because SqUAk versus FuryzHYPE. SqUAk was second now in this tournament. If they end up getting eliminated, anybody's game at this point. The 5 bulwarks there for SqUAk. Compared to the rogues, tale as old as time at this point here. Roll on through, ramp fight fires up. It's going to take everybody pretty much down to half. But it is going to get eliminated pretty quickly. They're fighting back. They're doing exactly what they need to do. It's just a matter of dealing with the slash-in, who's actually sustaining. They're alive, firing away on all cylinders, not being taken down because somebody stunned this thing and get on top of it. Or is that curtains? It's firing through. The Crunk has the blinds, but it's way too late. And with that, that is the confirmation that we were looking for. Both SneG and SqUAk have been eliminated in game number 3. But SqUAk is going to get eliminated in 5th compared to 6th. So, given the situation, still get a pretty decent amount of points. However, there are still 2 members of the top 4 currently in this lobby. And we're looking at one of them right now. Foxspirit up against Sota. Very, very balanced composition here for Foxspirit against the rogues. Rogues diving on through. That Atlas is not going to be very long for this world at all. Ramp fight dives on through. Does not necessarily find the shots that it was necessarily looking for, but the Kugaraf is going to end up falling in a second. No, never mind. It is just going to stay alive, and everything else is going to come in clutch. Foxspirit lives another day. Sota going to take some damage, but still sitting pretty in this one. 59 HP for itself. Now, so we get to ride along with Sota again, going up against our other player in the top 4, FuryzHYPE. You may not want to take your eyes away from the screen. These are 2 rogue compositions going directly head to head with each other. You blink, it'll be over. As we see a completely loaded up Umbre alongside the ramp fights. Ramp fights on both sides. And we've seen what can happen if the slash-ins or slap-ins, the penguins, get left alone. Ramp fight's in pretty decent position. One on top of the penguin. It does end up going down. Greenside ramp fight's gonna go through. It just took out 2, but the other one does not find the value. It was strictly used on the Malura, which is the perfect opportunity now for the green one to fly on through. Sota might be able to do it. Can the Monarch secure? No, they cannot actually, as FuryzHYPE hangs on by a thread to get the job done. FuryzHYPE and Foxspirit in the single digits. And if I were cross-reference this, they went into this game 1 point apart. For Fury to have to take it, they would have to beat Foxspirit and I think take second place in the lobby. If Foxspirit takes out Fury, though, I think they got it. Of course, completely unofficial. Do not hold my word to that. But based off of my quick math staring at the website, I believe that is the case. SotaHYPE, Zico Perico, Fury, Foxspirit, and they play each other right here, right now. This could be the decider of the entire tournament. In the green, FuryHYPE, the 7 rogues. Guns blazing, meanwhile Foxspirit, the balanced team. A little bit of Scion, a little bit of Empath. A little bit of dive, a little bit of magic damage. A little bit of everything. But the main thing is he's got a whole lot of air and shock. Furies, if they're gonna take this, they need to take this round extremely quickly. The longer it goes, it's gonna be the worst off for them. Looking for the ramp fight. Where is the ult? Popping up, is knocking down, knocks one down, and takes a bunch of them down the half. But there are a lot of low health bars here for Fury. They've gone down. The Umbre has been targeted, gets disappeared for just a second. And it's not going to be enough to do so. FuryHYPE has been eliminated. Which, in theory, should make Foxspirit our winner. But I'm not going to confirm that immediately. Did we get the bug again? Oh dear. Okay, so we're going to have some moonwalking alluvials for the rest of this, but heck, we're going to make do. Whew. I mean, I don't want to necessarily count out Zico Perico either. If Foxspirit happens to go down here and Zico Perico wins, maybe that is an option that I did not notice earlier. Of course, unfortunate bug though, we do see the moonwalking alluvials. Those don't count towards anything in the battle. They won't be touched, they won't get in the way. It just looks kind of funny. But SotaHYPE versus Foxspirit. If Foxspirit can hang on here with this balanced comp versus yet another rogue composition, puts himself in a fantastic spot to secure this win in this tournament. And a very, very good spot for this ramp fight ability to pop up and do a ton of damage. And unfortunately, the rogue dives on in as well, and it's going to take a ton of damage right as it leaves. This is the best case scenario, I think, here. But now, so many of the members of Foxspirit have been eliminated. The ramp fight is going to be clutching things up. Foxspirit is going to fall just onto the podium in 3rd place. As they go to the draft deck one more time. So we're going to have ourselves, for the 3rd game, we're going to guarantee ourselves a 3rd winner. Or 3rd new winner. Sota, unfortunately, mathematically impossible for them to win this tournament. Zico might be mathematically impossible as well, but they can very well shoot themselves up the board. As it seems like it's... Are we just straight up stuck? Well then. Well, this is definitely an unfortunate point for this bug to have come into fruition here. Huh. Okay. So while we're stuck here, let me actually answer that question here from the chat. How many points do you get for the win itself? I don't have a breakdown, unfortunately. The only breakdown is going to be my monitor in a second because I can't actually get into the dang game, but it is what it is. We'll submit the bug later. We'll still ride along here in just a second to see who ends up taking this between Sota and Zico Perico. As the Ramphie, the Ace, and the Alfie moonwalk on stage. That is the confirmation that we were looking for, as Zico Perico is going to fall in second in this one. Sota, congratulations on your win here in game number 3. And we will see momentarily what does that mean for the point side of things. Let's take a look at the top 4 teams before we get kicked out here. So the Rogues, again, they've been a pattern all day where we've just been seeing Rogues do very, very well. And the 7 Rogues coming out here from Sota do exactly what they need to do. Zico's bunker composition, though, it's been good all day as well. Gonna find themselves a 2nd place position. Foxspirit, balanced team, tried to play around Shock and Air. Did pretty well, but could not quite get the job done. And Furies, once again with Rogues, to try and get themselves